GM everyone, and welcome back to 5 Minute Crypto. Today we're exploring a critical concept in the blockchain world, the Blockchain Trilemma, with a special focus on how Massa, a pioneering Layer 1 blockchain, is addressing this challenge. This episode is brought to you by Bitget, where you can hear from founders, builders, investors, and traders as we discuss all things crypto in just 5 minutes. So let's get started with today's episode. I'm your host James, and I'm excited to welcome Brian Felsen, the CMO of Massa, to the show. Massa is known for its innovative approach to solving the blockchain trilemma with impressive scalability, security, and decentralization. Brian, it's great to have you here.
Real pleasure.
Brian, there are many Layer 1 blockchains out there. Can you share how Massa stands out from the crowd?
Sure, yeah. We're the only project that truly aligns with the spirit of Web3 that has true decentralization. A lot of Layer 1 blockchains claim to have solved the blockchain trilemma with scaling, decentralization, and security, but we can actually do it while being truly decentralized with our parallel block architecture that allows for great scalability. But the thing about us that really makes us most exciting is our autonomous smart contracts and on-chain web, which allow us to be the backbone for automation. But really the thing that I'm most excited about is that we can be the backbone of automation across multiple chains. And we can do that through a couple of pieces of technology that we developed, which are autonomous smart contracts and on-chain web, which have the real potential of revolutionizing DeFi as well as a lot of other facets of Web3.
Thank you, Brian. And the blockchain trilemma is a hot topic. Can you explain what it is and particularly which aspect is the hardest to achieve?
The blockchain trilemma refers to balancing and the challenge of balancing decentralization, security, and scalability. So decentralization means that no single entity can control the network. And basically, that's why we're here in crypto, so that there won't be unfair control and the possibility of malicious activity. But when you increase decentralization, that typically leads to slower transaction speeds and reduced scalability. Security is about protecting the network, from attacks or double spending or other malicious activities. And scalability means that the blockchain can handle a large number of transactions efficiently. So the trilemma means that there's always a trade-off between those three. In terms of what's hardest, it's always decentralization. A lot of projects say that they've solved the trilemma, but they lie about the decentralization part. And it's easy to understand why, because it takes a lot of time and resources to reach consensus among a large number of nodes. And the more nodes that participate in the network, the harder it is to coordinate them, and that slows down speeds. So, it's hard to balance incentives for participants to maintain this decentralized network. And we have solved this to the degree that we can have transaction speeds of up to 10,000 transactions per second. And we have, thousands of nodes. We're very decentralized, and we have a Nakamoto coefficient. We can go up to 1,000, which means that it would take 1,000 entities to collude to take down a network, whereas most of these other chains that claim they've solved it are not decentralized, and their Nakamoto coefficient between 1 and 5.
Thank you for the breakdown, Brian. Now, about autonomous smart contracts, how do they revolutionize DeFi and NFTs?
Well, they're totally new. The autonomous smart contracts on Massa, they're smart contracts like you would think of them, but they're self-activating, which means that they themselves can initiate actions based on predefined conditions without needing external prompts. They can schedule future actions, or they can respond to events and trigger execution autonomously. So, a traditional smart contract like you're used to requires external triggers to be executed, and these are not dependent on these centralized bot servers or keepers, which could be security risks, as we've seen through a nightmarish last year, or central points of failure. And what that means is now with these autonomous smart contracts, they really allow for all types of automation that you've never seen before. Imagine for DeFi, decentralized exchanges, where we can have limit orders, liquidation, adjusting liquidity pools autonomously without centralized bots. For lending platforms, you could have interest calculation or payment scheduling, liquidations of under-collateralized loans to run autonomously. And there's just a lot of stuff you can do with these that you haven't been able to do before in crypto. You could even have, like with NFTs, imagine like crypto pets that can autonomously breed based on on-chain logic, or NFT art that can change based on just activity or time triggers. So by self-executing, it really fulfills the promise of Web3 of not relying on centralized infra to wake them up. And that's something that we haven't seen before.
Great. And lastly, can you tell us about on-chain web hosting and why it's important?
Sure. I mean, last year has really shown why it's needed. There's been so many attacks, typically front-end attacks, as we've seen from BalancerFi and so many other protocols. And, without a decentralized web, not only can it be attacked and taken down, it can be censored, like OpenSea was forced to delist certain NFTs without explanation. There's security risks, like BadgerDAO having lost 120 million. There's just so much that, they can be censored, they can be hacked, they can be tampered with. Whereas with Massa, to fulfill the promise of true decentralization, we're doing it across all layers of the protocol. And yet another way is by us providing a seamless on-chain web access where people can navigate decentralized.massa websites, and the website is hosted directly on the blockchain. So that eliminates reliance on centralized servers, unlike everybody else. And we can imagine a future, a present even, where we could even be a mirror for a DeFi platform, and developers can actually now make websites that run themselves into the future, even if their founders of the project goes away, or even if a server goes down, like AWS would go down like once or twice a year. So it just allows it to truly be decentralized, and it puts the D back in DeFi, and it puts the Web3 back in Web3. Which sounds silly, but if you look at all that's been happening last year, how centralization has really creeped all into the whole ecosystem, we are truly true to the promise of crypto, and we are going to be the chain that really facilitates automation and true decentralization across all layers of the protocol.
Thank you for joining us, Brian. Listening to you jump into discussions around Massa and the blockchain trilemma has been incredibly enlightening. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Oh, that's great. Real pleasure as always.
And for our listeners, if you're intrigued by Massa and its innovative solutions, be sure to check them out. We also have just recently listed them on the Bitget platform, so check out for those links in the description. Remember to like, subscribe, and give us a thumbs up wherever you're listening. Join us next time for 5 Minute Crypto as we continue exploring the fascinating world of cryptocurrency. Until then, hodl on.